Hey everybody, it's Jen here, Lady Wolverton's Den. We're in the Wolf Den tonight. We're going to talk about Bran, Chapter 1, right after the prologue, and the first book, Game of Thrones.
Oh,
All right, starting with Shelly, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hey, it's Shell. And I'm going to try to understand Brand One from watching the show, I guess. I don't know. I still haven't started reading, but I'm just gonna go and do whatever. So yeah. Hi everybody.
hey everybody, this is Misha Houston. Thank you for having me on tonight. I want to give a shout out to Lady Wolverton, Jennifer, and I wish you the best of luck. And I hope that your grandmother is resting in peace right now.
Thank you so much. It was
Hmm.
a really nice day. Everybody got along. I got to see a lot of cousins that I haven't seen in a long time. I really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
Well, your dress was very pretty, so I liked it.
You, thank you so much. And I also want to say that this particular scarf, Marie Hill gave to me for my birthday, and I had told her, I said I need the perfect little black dress to wear with it. And of course, I didn't ever mean it for it to be for my grandmother's funeral, but I think that there is no better.
Yeah,
No
Yeah.
better
yeah,
look.
I liked it. I
Hmm.
like it.
Yeah, I really think it dresses it up to another level. Okay, I haven't read the books completely in a really long time, but I did, whenever we do one of these, I read the chapter. I mean, it's not that hard,
Mm.
really, because, the chapters are based, like I said, the only other person I've really ever seen do this was, and we've talked about it, and George R. Martin has cited it, is the fact that he's a big admirer of William Faulkner. In the book, As I
Mm.
Lay Dying, the book is kind of written like that, according to the character's feelings, just in the same way. And I think, he said that was one of his big influences. Uh,
Oh, what was that?
uh, William Faulkner is a big time Mississippi author, and me being from Mississippi, I've read a lot of his books. But you can see a little bit of the style being the same, but not completely. Not like some copycat stuff. It's totally different genre, totally different. But I see what he's doing, trying to convey how just like Jamie. Jamie really doesn't feel he's a bad guy. Whereas
Hmm.
everybody else thinks he's a bad guy. Jamie really doesn't feel like he's a bad guy. And he is, I don't know, I guess I would say, have you ever been around a bunch of people and you didn't fit in, maybe because you were more educated than them or for whatever reason, and anything that they said to you just rolled right off your back? Because you
Hmm.
didn't. And I think just him growing up with that whole, what did father, like in the last episode, what did father say about the sheep? Lions don't concern themselves with what the sheep say. And I think he tried to live by that. But on the same token, I think on the inside, being called a Kingslayer did always bother him, just like Bran, which is what we're talking about tonight. He's a
Hmm.
cripple. Yeah. Can he still do things? Is he still majorly powerful, important? Absolutely. But does it bother him? 100%. And that's something. And then when George talks about he likes to write about the human heart in conflict with himself, I think Jamie's story and Bran are two perfect examples of that. Like Bran will always struggle with the fact that he will never have a normal life, that he's not really the same person anymore. And I think we see right now at the beginning of his realization of that, it makes him very sad. You know, I know a lot of people gave him shit over the way he treated Mira Reed, but I think that's how he had to be. Otherwise, he might have just broken down. You know what I mean? He
Hmm.
has to keep strong. Otherwise, nobody else will be able. It's almost easier to let somebody be mad at him than to basically go into a fit of tears and self-pity with somebody. Anybody want to follow up on that?
Yes. Yeah, excuse me. I'm trying to get the
Because
camera
in the
right.
book, it much more hints that he had a thing for Mira Reed. And he thinks several times he wishes he could leave, the cave, forget about everything, F everything, and just go off and live in some holdfast and live a normal life with her. Because he's half in love with her in the books, not so much in the show. But I think it would be really easy for him to just ignore his duties or just say F it or, feel sorry for himself or be mad. But instead, he kind of takes everything, like I said, there's just so much going on in his head. That's why I think they played him that way in the TV show. He just doesn't have time for any kind of sentiment.
No, I totally agree with you. His emotions have totally taken a back seat in the show. He's trying to download so much information, trying to get his head on straight. His head, I mean, it's just so filled. It's so filled to bursting that he just doesn't have any room for, the emotional side. I mean, he's just not there. So much of himself
he is
has
actually one of
disappeared.
the only people who realizes, we're in a heap of shit here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. And but even though he knows that he's in so much, he has no fear in him. Have you noticed that?
He
He's
does
not
have fear in
afraid.
him.
No.
He certainly was scared when the Night's King grabbed him.
Well, yeah, of course. But that was before he was downloaded, with the information. Afterwards, he apparently, he saw that the people were coming after him while Mira was dragging him through the woods. But apparently he had no fear in him. She was the one that was carrying all the fear, not him at all.
He must believe there's a way that they can be defeated. Or why not just crawl under a rock and give up?
She was the one that was carrying all the fear, not him at all. What about you, Shelly? What do you have to say about that?
Actually, I was sitting down and I was thinking about something. I was thinking about the transition that Bran first had, like the difference from when he was just kind of an innocent kid climbing and just kind of messing around in Winterfell, and then that time when he started interacting with the Raven, like when he was kind of, I guess you could say it was like a coma, right? And when he was unconscious, before he had woken up and just having these dreams, these green seer dreams, and just being caught into it and just being dragged down, because one minute he's just completely fine and the next minute they're thinking he's going to die, and he's not even dying, he's just awakening something else. And I mean, just the idea of having to go through something like that is just kind of extreme,
Mm-hmm.
And I can just imagine how it was dealing with someone who's young and who's his age. And I mean, the only thing that was close to what he experienced was from those stories from Old Nan and stuff. So, I mean, it must have been a complete shocker. I don't even know how to describe it,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I want to give a shout out to the Lord of the Last Hearts. Welcome to our chat. I heard that it seems to me you're in Portugal right now. So, wow.
That's right.
Wow, that's amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is
Pretty
amazing.
cool.
I had two good friends from there. One was named Carolina and Rodriguez, and I speak a bit of Spanish.
Yep.
And Portuguese is actually closer to Italian, truthfully.
Yeah, Portuguese is nothing like Spanish from what I've heard.
Well, it's a little bit. I mean, you could get your point across, but it's much more like Italian. But I had a friend Carolina from there who came to this, and she was a really great girl.
Let's maybe we should go on and move forward into our topic for tonight, which is Bran, of course. And the first chapter, besides the prologue of Game of Thrones, it's for Bran, and he's on his way to an execution, the execution of Garrett, the lone survivor that ran away from the White Walkers, in the north.
Right.
And he's certainly on his way to see that, and he has a bit of excitement about him. He's very excited for his first time
to get to ride out with the older boys and men.
Yeah, absolutely. He's very excited, but once he gets there, he kind of sees exactly what's about to happen here, and it's really, in my opinion, nothing to be excited about. He's about to watch this man die.
And you know what? Bran was always sensitive. I don't think he's excited he's going to see an execution. I think he's excited actually that he's been able to do something that has been considered that he's too young for.
Yeah, I mean,
like he gets to go right out with all the older guys.
Yeah,
he's 7 years old in the books.
Yeah, he's 7 years old in the books, and 9 years into winter.
9 summers.
Yeah, 9. Yeah. Well, excuse me, 9 summers in the winter. You're right, absolutely. And he's never known anything but the summertime. And you can tell that he's really getting his very, very, very first taste of winter and how things may be in the winter time. I mean, I've read a few of the sample chapters from Winter, and I feel that it's going to be a lot of mess, a whole lot more mess in the Winds of Winter than any of the other books. And he's getting a taste of that for the first time. And after the execution, he's more thoughtful. He was very excited, like a boy his age, but as he watched the man die and saw the blood on the ground, he became more thoughtful. He was lost in thought until someone woke him up out of it.
I think it was John.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was John who woke up.
If you look away, don't look away.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I also want to talk a little bit about the conversation that he had with Ned Stark.
One of the best conversations in the book.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I've said that before. I've made notes, Misha, but you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty much going, off of my memory here. He had a beautiful conversation with Ned Stark, talking about why he had to kill him himself. Not exactly why the man had to die, but why they killed him. Why he himself had to do the execution himself. Ned Stark is very much old school in his way of thinking. He's very respectful of death and what it means, and he wants Bran to be respectful of that as well. He asked him, why did I need to do it myself? Because it was me who passed the sentence. And if you get other people to do your killing for you, you lose the meaning of death and what it means. It means a lot for the person that's being killed, and it weighs on the person that is doing the killing as well.
And he also, doesn't he ask him about the king having an executioner?
Yes, absolutely. Bran asked, well, the king has executioners, but in the north we do it ourselves because we need to know what death feels like. We have a respect for it because we're going to face it ourselves.
I think is what his dad is trying to say is,
no,
you don't take a man's life lightly. So
right.
If we're going to pass the sentence, you swing the sword.
Right, exactly.
And we have somebody in the chat new, Marco Miko. Hello, thank you, and hello.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Marco asked how many years since the last winter. It was 9 years in the book.
Well, it's been 9 summers.
Yeah, 9 summers.
We're assuming it's been 9 years since the last winter.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking about, our season instead of theirs, but it's been 9 summers, Marco. Thank you for the question. And I also want to talk about.
No, Bran is 7 years old, Marco. Marco asked 7. Is that a new book title? No, Bran is 7 years old, and he's lived 9 summers. Or were you just making a joke? I know that movie Seven. Oh, isn't that movie about the serial killer?
Yeah, the seven
Or
deadly
like the
sins.
7 deadly sins. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Back with Bran, there was another topic that I had wanted to raise in regards to the television show about Littlefinger's execution and the way that the Stark sisters killed him.
Right. And I was unhappy with that because
Yes.
I felt like it would have been. I like Sansa, and I'll tell y'all why. I've told y'all why before. Y'all know me better than most people
Mm-hmm.
because I see sense in myself. As a girl, you always grow up a bit, thinking you're going to live next door to your best friends. Y'all can agree with me on this, probably.
Yeah.
You're going to live next door to your best friend. You're going to marry the love of your life. You're going to be rich. You're going to have everything you want. And things just don't work out that way. And Sansa was very naive in
Mm-hmm.
that way. And always
Yes.
wanting for things she didn't have. And then she finally realized, you know what? I had it damn good. And I think Jon Snow kind of parallels that as well. Like when Melisandre, when he's like, when my family had feast, they sat out here and I sat in the back. She was like, at least you had feast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
No one was.
everything can always be much worse.
Yes. I mean,
And
they
I
didn't
think that's
know.
a good lesson.
Yeah, they didn't know how bad it could really get and how good they had it before. And I
Exactly.
think everybody can relate to that.
And
I
so it was
mean,
actually quite character building for them all to realize just, how good they all really did have it, even John.
hmm back with the Littlefinger execution in the book, he told Bran, to swing the sword yourself. If you're gonna pass the sentence, swing the sword. But he also said, don't enjoy this. This is not a celebration. This is a serious and deep act, and it's not for your enjoyment. And what I don't like about Sansa and Arya is that they killed Littlefinger because he betrayed their father, but Sansa and Arya did not adhere to what their father taught them.
Right.
He said that you shouldn't enjoy it, but Arya obviously enjoyed it. She enjoys killing now, and Sansa didn't swing the sword herself, even though she was the one who passed
And
the
that's my
sentence.
problem I have with her. And she was the Lady of Winterfell. And I think if she wanted to show people, I think a good way to show that she is a capable leader would have been not only for her to pass the cunning sentence, because they got him in there thinking that she was going to turn on her sister or whatever, but and that's what I had wanted to see in the Ramsay death. I saw it foreshadowed him getting eaten by the dogs, and it was great TV. But I wanted to see her sentence him. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and that,
And then have a scaffold built and have her actually execute him.
yeah.
I
Mhm.
would have settled for that with Littlefinger.
Yeah, but I mean, exactly, just what you said. In the Ramsey death, the dogs did all the work, and she did not. I mean, I know she wanted him dead, and I know it was a beautiful and enjoyable death. It really was. I mean, it was a fitting death for him, but it kind of, cheapened Sansa in a little bit, even though it was great to see that.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
going back into it, because now you have to think Bran his own self, he can't even really um do the execution because he's crippled. So when it comes to Bran, I can kind of see why he would have to maybe have Arya do the kill for him. But I could agree with the deal with Sansa. I mean, she hasn't really gone to kill anyone by her own hand. It's always been either by her sister's hand or by someone else's hand or even
Yes.
using the dogs that time. Sorry. And so I really wonder when it comes to Sansa, like, is it, I think maybe it's because she sees and she has a little bit of Cersei inside of her, because Cersei would always have someone else do her kills as well. So she brought that with her to the north, which is why
Mhm.
she doesn't even maybe even think she has to do the killing anymore, because she's seen a different side, which is from the south and how the south does it, and they have people killed for them. so that they never get their hands dirty, kind of deal, you know?
Mhm. I mean, I really feel like, I mean, that they should have adhered, to Ned's rules when you're paying tribute and killing the man that betrayed Ned. I mean, it was a fine death, and I hated that it happened, but I just felt like part of my anger, with seeing him die is because this was supposed to be about Ned, avenging Ned, but you didn't even listen to what he had to teach you.
Right. Hey, Moni. Moni G's with us. Hey, girl. You know what? I think that actually Sansa, she does parallel Cersei in many ways.
Hmm.
One of those ways is the fact that a lot of times when her and Arya are into it and she acts like she's the only one who misses her father, Sansa can, list off lessons and thoughts words for word, just like Cersei can.
We have,
However, I think maybe that would have, maybe she did have it done by an executioner because she likes to maintain that I'm a lady type,
yeah, we have a comment from,
attitude. Um, Kind of like
we,
her Aunt Lysa, even though her Aunt Lysa was crazy as hell.
hmm
There's no other
Yeah.
way to put it. She was crazy
yeah,
as hell.
yeah, we have a
But
comment from Monty G saying, I think a lady doesn't kill,
exactly. So,
Yep.
but
Yep.
but she's
Arya
still a
doesn't
Stark
consider
though.
herself a lady, and neither does Brienne. But you constantly hear them in the story. I'm not a lady. Don't call me that, and getting mad or whatever. It's almost like
Yeah, because they kill. So like if you're a lady, you don't kill, you have someone else
every
kill
lady
for
do
you.
kill. Cersei killed Robert. Not totally hands on, but she had a part to play in it, making sure his wine was drugged, making him slower. However, and just like they say, just like Lysa did kill John Aaron. However, what I'm trying to say is, Arya and Brienne, like that time Brienne allowed Podrick to call her a lady, and she felt, from what she didn't correct him because she knew what he meant was from the heart. And sometimes
Hmm.
Arya can be a little bit softer with people she knows are not being sarcastic or trying to tell her what to do. Just like when Hot Pie said, "I can't believe I thought you were a girl. You're pretty." Compliment,
And she
but
just
they
gave
know
him like,
it's
and
a
she just
hundred
the
percent.
weirdest
They're
look on her.
they're just both
Well,
very they're just both very pessimistic, and they
hmm
know that a lot of the times people are using them, betraying them, or being sarcastic to them.
um, maybe, oh Lord, I kind of lost my train of thought. Excuse me, guys. As far
Mm.
as the Stark sisters go, I mean, I love them. I always will, and I totally understand their viewpoints. But for my taste, I would have liked to have seen them be more northern. It would have grounded them a little bit more. It would have made them stronger in the north, and
I think
in
so as
their.
well. I mean, what do you think, Misha? If it had happened on Bear Island, would Lyanna Mormont have swung the sword herself?
Yeah, I think she would have. I think she would have. I mean,
Now that is
Lyanna
kind of interesting. No.
Yeah, Lyanna Mormont has never been anywhere but on, in the north. So I mean,
Hmm.
she's deeply northern. But I mean, these other two girls, the Star girls, have been everywhere now, and they've
But the
gathered different
only
viewpoints.
but the only thing is that with Lyanna Mormont, is she even big enough to swing the sword yet? Like I can kind of see if she gets a little bit bigger to swing the sword, but as for right now, I don't think she can even swing the sword because she's too
I
small.
understand that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I
So
mean, yeah,
so
Isn't Ellen Payne on Arya's list?
in the book, yes, but in the show, he got cancer, I believe. But he survived though, and I think they fired him from the show because of that. So.
Okay.
In the book, he is on the list, but not in the show, not anymore. Um, maybe we can move on to the next part of that chapter, which is the dire wolves, the finding of the dire wolves. They
Yes.
found the first dire wolf. which was a female actually instead of a male. You know, I think in the show it was a male.
Well, you know what we're skipping over though?
What?
Let's talk before they find the direwolves. Let's talk about the fact that even before they find the direwolves, and John kind of sacrifices having one because he knows that there's not enough to go around, which also puts him on the outside once again. Thank God Ghost was hiding. He tells Bran okay, did anybody make notes? One of the most important things is when, after they've kind of rode off, John and Robb kick up their horses and kind of race. And Bran asks his dad, can a man still be brave if he is afraid?
Yeah.
And because it to me is one of the most important things in all the series of the books. And he says, yeah, that's the only time a man can actually be brave, is if he's afraid, yet he goes through something. When he's afraid. And I believe that. I know we all experienced that. Something you really dreaded doing, but you wanted to do it, and you know if you didn't do it, you would regret it the rest of your life.
I mean, fear is a tricky thing. I mean, they've had beautiful conversations about fear throughout the book. Littlefinger had a conversation with Sansa in the Eyrie about fear. Tyrion and Varys talked about fear. I mean, it's just such a strange thing. What's the name of him? Jaina Flint, and his confession of being afraid. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It just depends on the situation that you're in. Because fear can save your life, but it can also kill you, just like Jaina Flint.
Okay, we have 2 comments. Marco Minko says, even Theon had to do it more than once. Poor Sir Roderick.
Yeah, that's true.
Talking about, I guess, when he beheaded Roderick.
Sir Roderick.
Yeah, Sir Roderick. Yeah, that was disgusting. And Moni G says, my mom and my Grammys and my aunties and even their circle of friends always said, no matter what, be a lady. Yeah, and I think that's Sansa in a nutshell. Sansa's a lady. Like, so I guess, you know, she would never kill somebody, but, you know, Arya has never claimed to be a lady, never wanted to be a lady. So it makes sense. It does. But
so ladies aren't the one that will take it in their hands to kill. They kind of let those who are either like Arya, who denounce being a lady, or they let the men folk do the killing for them, kind of deal.
But I have to say this: Catelyn was a lady, but she certainly did some killing. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't above her to kill.
She killed in the books.
Right, she killed in the books. She killed and killed and killed. Yeah.
Now, was that
the wife?
Now, when was that before or after the Red Wedding, though?
No, that was before. Well, you know, during the Red Wedding, and I think she killed on the roadside trying to get to the Eyrie as well. So, I mean, she was a lady.
She did as well. Hey, Bran. Yeah. Bran is going to.
Hello.
Hey, Bran, what's up?
Hello. Her first kill was in the stables.
Arya?
Yeah. Catelyn's?
Or Catelyn?
Oh. Catelyn's first kill. No, my bad. I thought you were talking Arya.
No, we're talking about Catelyn.
We're trying to figure out when Catelyn started killing.
I think you're right though. Catelyn's first kill was on the mountain pass through the veil.
Through the veil. I think that was it. But she was not above killing, even though she was a great lady.
Right.
She really was. She carried herself like a lady. She had the beauty of a great lady, but she was not above killing, which I really, really appreciated. She wasn't above that. And I think that's what Sansa's problem is. I mean, she could be a great lady like her, but she's still kind of above.
I think before the books are over, we will see Sansa kill to save herself.
Yeah, she's gonna. I think she's gonna have to, especially in that Winds of Winter.
She's got to take down the giant.
Yeah, but who is the giant though?
Well,
I mean In the book,
That's the point. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know who that is.
I don't think it's gonna be Baelish.
You don't think it's gonna be Baelish?
I don't think it'll be Baelish.
Why not?
Well,
Why not?
I actually kind of like who's it? The Order, or no, it wasn't the Order. James of Thrones. He kind of put out there that Lady Stoneheart's going to kill Baelish because that's the ultimate nemesis of Catelyn would have been Littlefinger, you know, and she's come back from the dead to get revenge, and I mean I like that parallel a lot when the way Sansa and
Lady Stoneheart's not against killing.
No, of course not. Of course not. You're right about that.
I was just giving the example of the nemesis there. Sansa. Give me a minute. Let me think on that one.
I was just saying that, you know how I would have liked to have that scene to have gone was I would have liked for Sansa to administer the justice since she passed the sentence.
Right.
The dark way. Then again, Sansa was quite even a bit more sheltered than Arya because Arya inserted herself into a lot of the guys.
The male roles.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she would leave the sewing hall to go play out, with the boys, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but she's still. But even though she's a lady, she's a woman. She's a woman first before she's a lady, at least in my opinion. So I mean, a woman needs to do what she needs to do, not just a lady. She's still that. We were talking about fear.
Yeah, we were talking about the conversation before they find the direwolves about, which is one of the best to me, which is one of the best things in the whole book about Ned telling Bran that a man can only be brave if he is afraid.
Right.
And I find that true in life as well. You know, if
it's a duality. It's like you can't have evil if there's good. You know, you can't be happiness without sad. It can't have fear without. You can't have being brave without having a fear.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it just depends. Yeah, it just depends on the situation. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a philosophical type of person, but I mean, I've never not known one without the other. You can't have one of anything without the other. That's how I feel about it.
You don't have fear.
Right,
what
exactly.
Is bravery if you don't have fear? It's not bravery then.
Yeah, you have to know both.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he says, after Ned tells Bran that the only time you can be brave is if you are afraid, his father asks him, understand why I did it. It was a wildling. They carry off women and sell them to the others. And what strikes me here is that in the story, we haven't seen an other take a woman. I mean, only in Nan's Fireside Tales have we seen this.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're in the beginning of the book and we haven't seen any women, that far off the wall just yet. But I mean, in the lore, there have been women taken, in our Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire lore. But that's lore and we don't know whether it's true or not.
And his father smiled. You have been listening to old Nan. In truth, the man was an oath breaker, a deserter from the Night's Watch. And so he explains to him that's why he got killed, because he was an oath breaker. And he says, no man is more dangerous.
Yeah, he knows his life is forfeit once he's caught, so he will not flinch from any crime. And that's actually true. That's true.
Kind of like a wounded animal.
Right. Or someone who broke out of prison. I mean, they'll run over anyone just to get away.
Or somebody who has life in prison and doesn't shy away from, killing more people in prison to stay alive.
Mm-hmm. They have nothing left to lose.
Exactly. Which
was a very good point that they made in the book. Oh, yeah. There was plenty of good points in these first beginning chapters.
Are y'all reading like straight from the book?
No,
A little bit. We're kind of paraphrasing.
some quotes.
Yeah, taking quotes. Yeah, I mean, we all read the chapter, and we're just talking about the chapter here a little bit. I also want to talk about, if we're done with the fear section, maybe we can talk a little bit about Theon, who is the true outsider in this group.
Also, John is an outsider, though.
Yes, but you know, I mean,
more of an outsider. Theon's right there. He's holding the sheep for Ned to take the sword out. I mean, he's more of a. I mean, he's more part because he's still a high lord's son. Over who's a bastard out there.
Well, I mean, I seem to me like John would have some. Doesn't he have some blood in him? Stark blood in him, even though he's a bastard.
Yes.
So I mean, he's not so much. So he's not so much as an outsider. He's just lower than anyone else. At this
point in the story, he feels that he is.
Yeah, he feels that he is, exactly. Even though he's actually got some Stark blood in him. And then we
come up on the part where they find the dire wolves.
And Theon in this, which is the true outsider, is very disrespectful. They're very flippant about everything. And it's a very good, point. It's a very good point for his storyline, a very good beginning for him, because he he just doesn't, get it. He's really not one of them. And he doesn't really sense how important it is. And I really think it's really telling how John was, managed to put it all together. He's supposed to be the outsider, the bastard, the lowborn, but he has enough Stark blood in him to see how important this event was, finding of the dire wolves, and how it's all been put together, that these dire wolves belong, to the Stark children. And I'm happy that he also found one for himself as well.
I am too, and that showed a lot about his character right from the beginning, that he would sacrifice having one of his own, even though you could tell he wanted one.
Right.
His smarts in saying you have 5 children, the dire wolf is your sigil. They were meant to have them. That's a lot about his character, just,
Yeah, I mean, he's not really concerned about himself. But I mean, even though you can tell how happy he was to have one for himself. I mean, you're right. You're absolutely right. It filled his heart to know that he had one for himself. And I'm sure it made him feel, less like an outsider, that he had a wolf for himself. And it's really a shame that we don't really know too much of his history, because he is a Stark. And it's, I mean, the only thing.
Acceptance.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
part of the group. Sorry to keep cutting you off.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay, huh? That's how it is in this chat. Get it.
No, okay, wait, because I wanna bring up a part with Bran and John. Like, you guys were talking about how John probably felt when he had kind of approached it that it was just a part of their sigil. So 5 pups for the 5 kids, but then there was a 6th pup for him. Like, I kind of wonder how Bran feels now, because he knows that John has Targaryen blood, and he's pretty much like the prince of Rhaegar Targaryen. So like, that was kind of a little bit that I was wondering when it came to it, like the difference between way back then and now, because with Bran having gone through and now he's a 3-eyed raven, like how that relationship has kind of changed, or that dynamic,
Well, I mean, how could their relationship not change? They've been through so much at that point. They're just getting started in the beginning.
Also, they were always rather close.
Yes. Yeah, they were always close. I mean, I think all of the children loved John except Sansa. I mean, I guess she thought she was better than him or whatever. But it's a
because my own self, I thought that I kind of thought that.
Oh, what happened, Bran?
Oh, I was going to say she didn't actually hate him, though. She treated him as a
I
bastard.
think she just thought he was an embarrassment to their family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She treated him like bastards were treated in the time. That's how she was taught to treat bastards.
Yeah, but that was still her brother, though. I mean, she known him. She
See,
known the man all his life.
but I think the only reason why Sansa even did that is because she was mimicking what her mother was doing. Because
Yeah.
Catelyn kind of treated him like he was a bastard, and she didn't want to be bothered with him, and so that's why Sansa was doing the same thing. Because as you can see, all the other children turn around and they were just completely happy, and they considered him, regardless of if he's a bastard, he's still one of us. But when it came to Sansa, the only thing that I can see she pulled her little attitude towards him from was from her mother, which,
Mm-hmm.
like, after everything they had gone through, she kind of just threw that to the side, and she was like, you know what, fuck it, I don't care, you're still my brother. I'm just, now she has a brotherly love for him later down the road, but that influence, I really think, was more Catelyn than anything.
And you know what? I hate to get into history or whatnot. I know sometimes that turns people off, but there are many accounts um, of the fostering that goes on that we hear about in Game of Thrones. Like supposedly Robert Arryn was going to be fostered to Stannis. Ned was fostered in the Eyrie. Um, it's not unusual for there to be bastards, but on the same token, um, you didn't you weren't of the same status.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she treated him like that, like she was better than. Now,
But
when
the only
he was her only family member, her tune changed quite a bit. I think just because, he was
That's
her
all.
last link to home, really.
Yeah, her last refuge. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even in the book, she misses him. She misses John,
Yeah.
even though she regrets her actions.
Even he thinks of her. I think when he sees something being done to some young girls, and he thinks, "Gosh, those girls those could be my sisters." And he doesn't just say Arya; he says sisters plural.
Yeah, and I had another point that I had wanted to talk about in the story in the chapter when they first find the dire wolf. They they call it a freak, and they say look at the size of it and so on and so forth. It's like that. It's to me like they claim themselves as Starks, and they have the dire wolf on their sigil, but when they see a dire wolf, they don't even know what it is. I mean, it seems to me that they were very ignorant of the symbol of their family.
Well, no,
It said it had been 200 years, didn't they?
Yeah, it
yeah,
had been
it
many
had been
years.
200 years since they had. Now, the Stark Bannermen and Ned knew what it was. It was Theon who called it a freak. And then Theon says to John, that's the runt of the litter.
Yeah,
He'll die. And that's another thing that is very symbolic. John holds himself always a little bit apart,
Mm-hmm.
and is always placed a little bit apart. Just
Mm-hmm.
like when he's talking about during banquets, my family sat at the high table and I sat in the back.
And that also foreshadowed Theon, a
Mm-hmm.
freak.
Yeah, reek
Absolutely.
freak.
Good call.
Reek freak. Yeah. Oh God.
Reek the freak.
Oh man, I can't wait.
It's funny that should rhyme.
Oh, I can't
He
wait.
says that over and over in the books.
Reek the freak.
Reek the freak.
Wow.
Yeah, poor thing.
Poor Reek.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for him.
You
How
do
can
end
you
up
not?
feeling bad for him in the end and see his dilemma. However,
His redemption arc.
yeah.
Well,
I
I
mean,
just
yeah.
hope that it doesn't get to a point where, like, they really do have that little skirmish and the guy goes to kick him in the balls and pretty much there's nothing to kick kind of scenario.
That's
I
D&D.
just I
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully it doesn't kind of come out like that, but I wonder what it would play like as far as the books are concerned, how his character was pretty much destroyed and left as a shell of a man, you know? I mean, what do you do with Theon after that?
Well, I
He
mean,
begins his work.
well, can I say this, Shelly? And I'm not saying that you're wrong, but his story was more about captivity and him
Mhm.
breaking free of his captivity, not so much a redemption
Yeah,
arc.
and also he always felt he was a captive to the Starks, and then he
Right.
found out what true captivity was.
Captivity was. And I mean,
True,
it's
true.
just like what we said in the beginning. I mean, none of them
Sansa
are really
is very
thankful.
similar.
Yeah, none of
I
them.
think she lives a very boring life in the middle of nowhere, and then she gets to the capital, and actually her life was much better
Hmm.
where she was.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a big theme in the books
hmm,
of, don't know what you got till it's gone type of situation.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Hello to Jen, Misha, Shelly, and Bran, Money G. Hello, Money G. Thank you for coming.
Hey,
And
Money
also
G.
Marco Binko. Is there anybody else in the chat who wants to make themselves known? We'd love
Hmm.
to
We'll give you a shout out.
give you a shout out. Any questions, any points you'd like to make? We will certainly include them.
What you got? Do you have a comment, Bran? Do you want to say something?
Uh, I think Theon used that card a lot, the whole
He
captain card,
did.
but it was just an excuse. He knew he wasn't really captive. I mean, until Ramsay, until he was really until the Boltons came, he knew he wasn't. He didn't know what captivity was. He'd been treated like the family. He'd been treated like a high lord, an heir to the Iron Islands.
And even Sansa in King's Landing, yeah, Joffrey might have been cruel to her, but he was cruel to a lot of people,
Yeah,
but she certainly wasn't tortured and raped and locked in a room, and you know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
yep.
she was on lockdown though, even though she wasn't locked in a room. A prison
She
is
was
still a
on
prison.
lockdown, but it was nothing
It was,
compared to what.
yeah, it was a gentle prison, but it was still a prison nevertheless, So I don't, make light of anyone. A prison is a prison. Um, when they pulled, I'm going back into the chapter. When they pulled out the antler, a foot of shattered antler, tine snapped off, all wet with blood. I mean, the only, character, that I can associate with the antlers, is Robert and Renly and
The
Stannis.
Baratheons.
Yeah, the Baratheons, exactly. I mean, so that was a very interesting nod to them, even though at the time we didn't know anything about it. But looking back, you can really tell, the dead dire wolf and the antlers of the Baratheons, the connection that they have with each other and their families, and also the death as well, the death of Ned and the death of Robert Baratheon. So that was definitely a connection that I saw in the chapter.
Yeah,
Would
definitely.
you read that part
It was
again?
definitely a bad omen.
Yeah, you want
I'm
me to?
reading the antler
Okay.
part coming out.
Yeah. Father frowned. This is only a dead animal, Jury, he said. Yet he seemed troubled. Snow crunched underneath, under his boot as he moved around the body. Do we know what killed her? There's something in the throat, Rob told him. Proud to have found the answer before his father even asked. There, it's under the jaw. His father knelt and groped under the beast's head with his hand. He gave a yank and held it up for all to see. A foot of shattered antler. Time snapped off, all wet with blood. A sudden silence
See,
descended over the party. Yeah.
to me, I see that as Robert and his supposed 3 kids, as the tines being
Mm-hmm.
snapped off. I mean, it's his line, his bloodline, or even the bastards being killed by whoever done it.
Mm-hmm. All
Mhm.
snapped off. Yeah. I mean, do you know how many times there were in the Baratheon sigil.
I don't know, but I think there's what was it, 11 bastards and then 16 in the show.
Oh Lord, how many? It was 20 in the show, and I have no idea. I honestly don't know. I have to go.
You will have 3 children.
You have 3. You have 20, I think. Oh, I have no 16. You know, they completely messed up that whole prophecy in the show. Because
it sounded to me like it was Robert and being, you know, broken away from his kids that weren't really his kids. Or yeah, I think I lean closer to the Joffrey and Marcella and Tommen. What was that other one I caught there?
Yeah, they made it really obvious in the show.
Oh, and then you said Rob, he noticed that his throat was cut. The thing was in the throat right there. That foreshadowed him.
With Ned's you know, being cut at the throat, being cropped at the neck.
BBM says 20 bastards.
20 bastards.
Yeah, 20 bastards.
Okay.
Man, one wanted to say hey to BBM. Thanks for popping in.
Thank you, BBM. Thank you for coming.
Hi, BBM.
I think everybody in the chat, you know, if you want to jump on the panel, you're more than welcome.
Shelly, did you read the chapter yourself or no?
No, I still haven't turned around and started reading yet. So,
okay.
But I'm actually I'm learning from you guys, and then a lot of what you're saying is a part of like the season 1 as well. So I can kind of picture everything. Yeah, you know, like
till season 3, it's very true to the books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's why for me it's actually kind of like it's nostalgic to how like the writing used to be, kind of, you know, like you could still get a feel for the actual story with how when George R.R. Martin was a part of the whole thing, like everything kind of just it fit the right way, you know. So I'm enjoying it because I can kind of repicture everything you guys are going through already. So
especially the first few episodes, they're very much like the book. It's like the book comes to life. So if you don't really want to read and go through that, you know, the hassle and the trouble of reading, just go back to that first season.
In fact,
it's really great.
I remember thinking up until season 4, gosh, this is really done quite well, you know, because I've watched many things that I would say were loosely based on history. You know, because I read a lot of history books and whatnot, and a lot of times I would say somebody will ask me, "Oh, was it like the book? Was it very loosely based history?" But up until season 3, they keep it as close as possible, I think, within budgetary limitations.
Yeah, but I don't want to get too mad at them because I know they have to change things.
Exactly. And I never think they thought they would have got ahead of George. I really don't think they would have. But I think a lot of opportunities opened up to him, and he is getting older. And I think he just wanted to take advantage of a bit of success. And you can't blame somebody for that.
No. His books have been out for 20 years, and it took 20 years just to get the recognition it really deserves. So I couldn't really be angry with him for enjoying his life.
I'm not mad at him. I just hope I get to finish the series before I die. Hell, anything can happen.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the only thing is, are you even going to be able to finish the series before he dies? I mean, that's the scary part. Is he's kind of creeping up there, and they don't put him on the treadmill or nothing, you know. So I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying, like, with the way that I was kind of sitting down thinking about that, because even for people who ended up not going too big with the work that they do, like, they only let a time gap between books go so far. So it's usually about like a year or two between books, but George R. R. Martin has somewhere it's like up to like 10 years or something. I
Well,
was like,
usually about 5, but this time he's gone over that. But he's had so many appearances at Comic-Con and writing for the show. I think the first 4 seasons took a lot of his time, and put him behind.
He only writes at home. So
Yeah.
all the time he was working on the show, all the time he was doing this and doing that, that's essentially time he wasn't working on it. So
And then the little companion books, even though they were short stories, and The Princess of the Queen and The Hedge Knight, some other things that all took away. Whereas before, he was successful, but he hadn't blown up like he had. And you can't blame somebody for wanting to reap a little bit of success.
Well, I hope he gets it out, by next year, because I'm getting so tired of waiting for winter. Oh God,
I hate waiting, but just as long as he gets it out before I die.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing that is scary about that is like I said, is if he gonna die about that? Yeah, that's kind of the creepy part. But then, like on top of that, because I've been hearing a lot of people sit down and say that he's probably not even going to let season or Winds of Winter drop until after season 8 is done, and then afterwards he has one more book too.
I was hoping the exact difference, because being in one of the fields I used to work in, I mean, it's brilliant, the merchandising that would be behind, because the way I heard it, season 8's going to be longer wait even than season 7, and it would be brilliant as far as merchandising, everything, to drop the next book right before season 8.
And then
that would be better, but then people think that I mean, honestly, it would be better if you were to drop like the 6th book like towards the beginning of next year or something, if it's done, kind of deal, and then give people like that little extra time to kind of brush up on it, and then let season 8 come, and then like just go from there, kind of deal. But then the only thing I worry is that after Winds of Winter, doesn't he have one more book that he still hasn't even touched? Or I mean, do we even know what the title of that one is?
Like, for instance, I heard that the 3rd book, Storm of Swords, it was actually practically 2 books.
Yeah, it was 2 books.
They did sit down. So he basically had Feast for Crows was halfway done when they put out Storm of Swords, because it had gotten so big. And Storm is something like 1,500 or 1,600 pages, which is generally unheard of in the publishing world.
And every page was beautiful too.
It was. Very much so.
Oh yes. Bran, are you there? Bran?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Do you have any more observations on the Bran chapter? Seeing as it's your namesake.
Where exactly does that chapter end? Right there after the dire wolves?
Yeah, after they find the dire wolves.
After they find the dire wolves, and Ned and Bran have a conversation about, which I think is meant for us to show just how different, even though they love each other and they're friendly to each other, just how different Rob and John view things. Like, for instance, Rob says that he died a good death.
It mirrors their station. He's the bastard. He's going to be the Lord of Winterfell. You got the high and the low.
Like when Bran and his father are talking, he says Rob died. Rob said the man died good, and then John says no, he was afraid. And then and I just think it shows the differences basically in Theon, Rob, and just the way John and Theon are both kind of outsiders. But almost like John's the bigger outsider, even though he is a relative.
I would argue that. I would argue that Theon really isn't an outsider. He is a High Lord. He's treated like a High Lord. He is,
but he still does always have that conflict. Am I Greyjoy or am I Stark? Am I honored guest or am I a prisoner?
And I think. Go on, Bran.
I just see it as an excuse more than anything because he's never been, even punished or anything that we hear about. He's sat there with the family as a High Lord. He doesn't have to go through the stuff John does. And John's supposed to be this guy's son.
And I know we're talking book, but something that struck me in the show one time was early in season 1, Jamie's having to stand outside while Robert messes around with Hose because Robert enjoys because he knows he's married to Cersei. And Jory and him talk about the battle on Pike, I believe. And he says, yeah, I know Theon, a good boy. And Jamie says, I doubt it.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, I remember that. It's because he's a Greyjoy. That's what he is.
Right. And he says a good lad. And he says, I doubt it.
Mm-hmm. Because he's a Greyjoy.
Because he's a Greyjoy. Because them Greyjoys are crazy. Every last one of them.
Stark's the only one. And then you got Ned and Catelyn who treated him, just as good as he treated his firstborn son.
Yeah, but Catelyn never trusted him, though.
Marco Minko, what do you mean what about Fire and Blood?
Fire and Blood?
Can you elaborate on that for me?
Who said Fire and Blood?
Marco Minko.
Exactly. That's why I'm asking him to elaborate on that.
I thought you were asking us. I said I was thinking I didn't say that.
No, someone from the chat did.
From the chat. Marco Minko from the chat said, and what about Fire and Blood?
What would the Fire and Blood have to do with Bran?
Yeah,
unless he's talking about the vision that had happened, and Bran being a part of the vision of Fire and Blood.
I think he's talking more about the duality of it.
Okay, and Broke Black Man just says fuck Danny.
Yes, go BBM.
Not original, but he's always on that one, but oh well.
I love it though. BBM, I hope we get some more of that Cersei crazy. I just love it. I live for it.
I swear they should have just turned around and let that White Walker eat that woman right there, and all of their problems would have been done. All of their problems would have been done if the Hound would have just said, "There you go," and let the White Walker off the leash, and just would have ran and just started tearing her apart. Like, I think that would have been at least better to let it try to start eating her and then take it off and say, "Oh, my bad, Your Majesty." and I just drawing a little bit of blood on Cersei would have turned around and made such a difference. You just don't know.
Cersei's too important. They're gonna kill her off to the end.
I know, but at least to have scared her off by drawing blood on her, like, I think that would have been better, just to try to see and to show them, like, look, you could try to all use your swords and whatever to hack at it and to try to save her, but you can only save her, like, by either burning it or by killing it with dragon glass, and then killed it finally after she's been maimed for a few minutes. That would have been so much better.
God, you really hate Cersei, don't you?
I'm just saying, like, it would have sold it. It would have sold her more. It would have sold her more. You know, it would have sold her more. Like, because then they would have been flipping out trying to figure out how to kill the dang thing. She's sitting there pregnant. She would be flipping out thinking that it's going to turn around and really kill her, kind of deal. You know.
Elaborated. Marco said, "I read somewhere Fire and Blood is a new GRRM book. or I'm just mistaken.
Oh,
Yeah,
so maybe that's season 7's title?
The only new book I've heard of is the one about the swords.
I think there is a book called Fire and Blood.
No, it's the Targaryen history that he's coming out with in 2018.
Oh, okay. Targaryen
Oh.
history. You're right, Marco.
Yeah, I think I saw something about that. I can't remember where though.
That's good. I want to check that out.
Yeah.
He announced it that I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. He said that that we will be getting a book in 2018, a Westeros book. He didn't say when's the winner, but he said Fire and Blood, and that we might get 2 in 2018, but it ain't gonna happen. There's no way. It's the Targaryen history of Aenys to Maekor, or Maker.
Okay, Maker the Cruel.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that.
It's just more detailed than what we got in the World book.
Well, that makes me wonder, is the spinoff not going to probably be about Bittersteel and the bastard that he, you know what I mean? And that's why we'd be getting that book.
Do we know if it's just one spinoff, or are they doing 5?
I heard 5, but I don't know.
I think maybe they had 5 concepts, but they certainly probably are not doing them all, at least not all at once.
Yep.
Maybe they have
in his
5.
live journal, he did have
5 in the works. You know, because sometimes things will be real popular and then they'll just die out. 5 in the works, and then maybe if it continues to be very popular, they'll drop a new one every time the old. Yeah.
And they had 5 different scripts wrote. You know, he
right, and then they might use more than one if they're all successful. But you know, HBO, they're all about the almighty dollar at the end of the day.
Not long ago, on his live journal, he tweeted out it had numbers, the hands, and like all up to 5. So I don't know if that was a shout out to the 5 scripts, or if they.
How old is George R. Martin? BBM, I'm not sure how old he is. I would say 70s, 70 something, or close to 70. He was drafted for Vietnam, so he had to be born probably around. I don't know, my dad was in Vietnam. He was born, I believe, in 43, 46. And Misha, BBM likes your new headset.
My new headset?
Uh-huh.
My headphones?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Well, they're not even new.
Yeah, haven't you had it for a while?
My new headset.
But you've had yours for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, the headphones, BBM are not new, but I appreciate the compliment.
But your camera was new like a few months ago, right?
Yeah, I had an old camera, but I didn't like it, so I bought a new one. So my camera is much better than the one that I had. It's clearer too, and you can hear me better. Because I know in the last few streams, I wasn't heard very loudly. So thank you, BBM. Mm-hmm. But I mean, these old headphones are very old. but my webcam is practically new.
How old George R. Martin is, but my dad's 70 something, so I'd have to guess around that age.
He's 68. I'm reading it right now. 68.
What year was he born?
Oh, okay.
1948, September the 20th.
Okay, my dad was born, I believe, in 47. Makes sense.
Yeah, he's 68 years old.
So that would make George R. R. Martin 69 right now, right?
September the 20th. His birthday is coming up very soon. So he'll be 69.
Okay, and then so he's a year behind. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I would think that like on the 8th. Oh yeah. So on the 18th, then he'll turn around and he'll turn.
On the 20th. On the 20th,
70.
He'll turn 69.
69.
Yeah, for this year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I'm like Billy Madison. I couldn't control myself.
Mm-hmm.
You're all right. You're so funny. Because, I mean, wow. See, this is why I tell you guys, like, just to worry about him And hopefully, if something happens, he already has a contingency plan for the last book because, I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't have anyone that's writing it for him. I want him to write those books.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I tell you what, the few sequels I've read that somebody else bought the rights to or whatever, horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible.
Yeah. One of them.
The sequel to Gone with the Wind is a hilarious joke.
Nobody will be able to finish his stories because, for one, he doesn't outline anything. He's a gardener. He creates as he goes. He changes it up. So he, like Robert Jordan, he's another big fantasy author who actually did die writing his last book, but he had it all wrote out. So Brandon Sanderson came in and just bam, 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 broke it into 3 books, knocked him out. And he doesn't want somebody to pick up the mantle.
Maybe if he becomes in bad health, he'll dictate them to somebody.
He doesn't want anybody to do it. He said it in an interview. He would be completely content dying in the middle of writing a big epic fantasy like this.
Oh, he better not die.
He better not.
He better not.
Well, I was reading Robert Jordan, the Wheel of Time series, when he died, or when I picked up Game of Thrones. I'd be pissed. I'm getting a bad track record with authors.
I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does anyone in the chat have any questions? Any questions about anything? BBM, Margot, money, any questions? And we will answer them. I'm as far as the chapter goes, I don't have any more points to make on it. I thought it was a very good chapter. I enjoyed it. It was a very good start for an excellent series so far. So I don't have any. The only thing I can think of to talk about is Bran on the television show. And
talk about that for a bit.
Yeah, I really like Isaac Hempstead Wright's portrayal of him. I think he does a really, really good job playing Bran.
He does well.
Mm-hmm. He's very good. I really see him in the book.
What blows my mind as well is how little the children actors were when they started, as opposed to how they are now.
Oh yeah, they're almost grown. I mean, yeah, Sophie is grown. Yeah, Sophie is grown.
Yeah.
Isaac was 10 when he started.
Mm-hmm.
I just seen that in an interview yesterday. That's why I know.
He's 16 or 17 years old right now. And Maisie is 16 or 17 herself, maybe even 18.
Maybe even 18, yeah.
Yeah, they're all grown up now. So I would love, to sit down and talk with all of them about their characters. And how did it feel, to grow up playing these roles? I just think it's amazing.
It's crazy, and I hope it doesn't happen. But I hope a lot of the actors are good and they're beautiful. I don't think it'll happen with Maisie, but I think a lot of actors will have trouble finding anything better than this.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. As far as the show goes, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
What are they gonna do? I've seen Maisie in one other movie. I can't even remember the name of it. It was when she was having an affair with her brother. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was a good movie.
That was on Netflix about a guy who kind of has superpowers, and she gets raped or robbed by some little thugs in England, and he takes it out on them or whatever. It's a good movie. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a Netflix movie. Good movie, worth a watch. She's 20 years old.
Who's 20?
Maisie Williams.
In real life?
Yes. April 15th, 1997.
Oh,
Sophie
really?
Turner is 21.
Mm-hmm.
Amelia Clark is 30.
Is 30. Yeah, I know she's old. But yeah, absolutely. What were we talking about? Yeah, their ages. Yeah, I'm surprised that Maisie is that old. I thought she was still maybe 18.
Right.
Yeah.
She's right there with Sansa's age.
Yeah, they're very close. I think the movie I'm talking about is possibly Cyberbully. That's on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth watching.
Are there any questions in the chat? Oh, I don't see any questions in the chat.
Questions, observations.
Yeah. That's the thing about having these small chats. I mean, there aren't many questions to answer, but I do need some questions. Apparently not.
I missed the first part of this here. Any key points that y'all caught on the way there at the very beginning?
At the beginning, did you hear about us talking about the execution itself and how it affected Bran and how he was excited in the beginning of it, but after he saw the man die, everything changed for him?
Right. He was excited to ride out, kind of like his first to get to see the King's Justice, his first time to get to ride out and be a part of it. And then Jon says to him, "Don't look away. Father will know if you look away." And what struck me most is, number one, Jon is an outsider. And number two, that's, one of the best lines of the whole book series is, Robb says that he died bravely, and then Jon disagrees and says no, he was scared. And then he asked his dad about it, and his dad said, "You can only be brave if you are scared."
Right.
So that's what I got about it. What about you, Misha? Did you get any serious?
I completely missed that point in the chapter. You're the one who caught it, and I thank you for it. I did miss that point in the chapter because I kind of ran through the chapter a little bit. But as far as that sentiment goes, it's true.
I think that starts off where you can see that Jon is more of an observer of people, whereas Robb kind of takes everything at face value without any kind of deeper questions. And that's in essence what gets Robb killed. You know what I mean?
Because he takes everything at face value instead of looking beneath the surface.
Well, he thinks everybody is honorable, and he says the man died a good death because he didn't cry, he didn't look away, he didn't whatever. However, Jon could see under the surface the man was scared as hell. And even Ned is not calling him a liar. Ned's like, a man sees what he sees. But what he got killed for was not for running from the White Walkers. It was for not going back to the Night's Watch and reporting what he saw.
Well, he was killed for deserting his post.
Yeah, he was killed for deserting, not because he was scared and not because he was a liar.
No, he wasn't. It's a shame that they didn't Garrett didn't get to speak during his execution. They didn't even give him his last word. And I had wanted
in the TV show they do play a little bit more into it.
And I thought that if there has to be a point where the show did better than the books, I have to say that point. Yeah, that was one of them. I'm glad that the man had a chance to speak and to warn them all, about the White Walkers.
And it also shows a lot about Theon's character, like when he kicked the head.
Yeah, he's so flippant.
It was very disrespectful, regardless of what the man was. That was disrespectful.
Yeah, absolutely. You can really tell. That was a good point as well.
Theon's the right shit, from the first introduction to him.
Absolutely. It was a very good introduction for him.
And I think instead of being grateful and learning from his position as an honored guest, he kind of pushes it and takes advantage.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. He doesn't have any respect for anything or anyone.
No, not at all.
No, not,
He
especially in the
laughs
beginning.
about it. He kicks the head. He laughs about it.
He's
Whereas
not happy.
John, I think, gets angry and is like, stop. You know, no matter what, that man died. You know what I mean? He deserves some modicum of respect.
Mm-hmm. Bran, did you have something to say?
Oh, shit.
No.
Oh, he's never had to. He's never had. Well, I mean, like the iron price. You know, he was as a young child. He was taught to. You know, he had to pay the iron price. Then all of a sudden, he's here with the Starks. Now he's got the gold. He's got so many conflicts going on. He don't really know what he's doing. You know, so he's just acting out pretty much.
And we've heard George R. R. Martin say so many times that the only story worth writing about is, well, actually, it was William Faulkner who said the only story worth writing about is the conflict within a human heart, which I feel all the time and have felt many times, where you want to do the right thing, but then you think, well, maybe it's best for me if I just stay out of it. I think we've all experienced that, where we knew something wrong was happening, yet we didn't have the balls to say or do the right thing.
Oh yeah, that's definitely Theon, you know, to a T, and you know, and our other characters, but it's mainly Theon for sure.
Definitely. Theon, you can even tell he's always in conflict with himself.
Oh yeah,
Like when he
absolutely.
kills Sir Roderick, he knows it's wrong and he doesn't want to do it. But at the end of the day, he cares more about what those stupid idiots think who sold him out than what's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he delivered a, you know, in the show he delivered a really really good soliloquy. Uh, you know, for you know, when he's talking to John in Danny's court, and
Right, when they
he's
have their
saying,
little conversation about him going to get Yara.
right, yeah, he said that. I mean, it's always been a conflict for him, Stark or Greyjoy, and he never could make a good decision about that. And you know, it's very much prevalent in this first chapter.
And John
And
shows
his
him a
actions.
little bit of mercy because John also felt a little bit of that. He was a Stark, but then he wasn't.
Mm-hmm. It's a shame that they weren't better friends
You would
because,
think that they would be.
but they weren't. Right? Exactly. They weren't, even
And
though
that's
they could
because
have been.
Theon had a chip on his shoulder that he was better than John. Like the one thing he thought he was a prisoner, yet the fact that he was a trueborn made him have that chip that, you know, I am better than you.
Shelly, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I'm trying to sit down and I'm trying to figure out where it is and how it kind of ties into the actual Bran chapter. I mean, what would you say? What would you say, Misha? Because I'm kind of having an issue with that, you know?
Yeah, because I know you haven't read the chapter. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, let me just give you some cheap advice. You know, we're probably going to go through all of the chapters at one point, so just read the chapter. I mean, the chapters are really, really short.
They're very short.
They're very short
Yeah,
in
I
the
mean,
first
If
one.
you
well,
don't want to read, go on YouTube and listen to them.
Listen to them. Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I actually did start reading Game of Thrones, and so like my thing is that I did read, what was it? I read Bran. I read the part about I read up to a certain point, but it was so long ago that I probably should at least
Okay.
start looking into it. But it was,
On
I
Bran,
did read Bran.
on the first
Yeah.
thing, the morning has dawned clear and cold, with a Christmas that hinted at the end of summer. They set forth at daybreak to see a man beheaded, 20 in all. And Bran rode among them, nervous with excitement. This was his first time he had been deemed old enough to go with his lord father and his brothers to see the king's justice done. It was the 9th year of summer and the 7th of Bran's life. The man had been taken outside a small holdfast in the hills. Robb thought he was a wildling, his sword sworn to Mance Raider, the king beyond the wall. It made Bran's skin prickle to think of it. He remembered the hearth tales old Nan told them. The wildlings were cruel men, she said, slavers and slayers and thieves. They consorted with giants and ghouls, stole girl children in the dead of night, and drank blood from
That's the
polished
wildlings.
thorns. And their women lay with the others in the long night to sire terrible half-human children. So what I think happens is Bran gets out there and he sees that this is just a scared man like any other.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts to question what he's been told his whole life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Most of the books are about people who have been told things and been taught to believe things, just like all of us were, to an extent.
Okay.
And then you
Now,
get.
I have a question.
Like, for instance, if you grew up with very conservative parents who told you being gay was terrible, but you meet a gay person who's one of the nicest people you've ever met in your life, and you have no reason to dislike them. It causes conflict in your heart. And I think that's
but Jen,
first conflict within his heart.
Okay. So Jen, let me ask a question. Did Bran actually think that the guy that they had caught was a wildling, or did he not understand that that was a guy who had deserted the Night's Watch?
I think that he thought at first it was a wildling, and then when they got close and he saw what he had on and heard his tale, because he does say something.
Rob told him, and that's what he believed, and then Ned corrected him afterwards.
Exactly. So I think that what we see in Bran 1 is Bran's first, thought, Bran's first conflict within himself. That, hey, this man was just a scared, and then he asked his dad, he said, do you believe there's what he saw the walkers? And he says, a
madman sees what he sees.
Exactly. So I think that was kind of the awakening of Bran, realizing, just because you never know what is real unless you see it for yourself.
Yeah, and it really showed how sheltered the Starks were as well. They have, such beliefs, but then here comes this guy coming in out of nowhere, about to die, and he's shattering everything that they once believed in.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to Bran. I mean, he's thinking it's a wildling and it's some big fantastical thing, and it's nothing but a guy.
And I believe in the TV show, Sean Bean even portrays a bit of the fact that he doesn't think that the guy's lying. He doesn't think he's necessarily telling the truth. He says, a madman sees what he sees, because the source is unreliable, because he didn't follow his duty.
True.
Because Ned's always about that duty. Like, he should have went back to the Night's Watch. Because like we said before, he got executed because he was a deserter, not because he lied, any other reason. So, the man was lying or telling him anything else. He tells him a madman sees what he sees. But I think Ned's not so sure. It's just that right after that, we get the king's visit, and we get a lot more, just like in all of our lives. This isn't the only thing we do, is have these chats Thursdays and Fridays, and ever so often we have relatives dying, we have work, we have kids. You know what I mean? That it's just, I
want to say goodbye to Broke Black Man. He says he's drifting off.
See you, BBM.
Yeah, he's drifting off.
Yeah,
so
it's getting late. It's getting late. We're fixing to cut it short too.
Yeah. I can see that tonight. So we're gonna do our outros or what?
Yeah. Guess first. Bran.
Oh, okay.
And thank you for making time for us.
I'm sorry I didn't get here earlier. I'll try next week.
Okay.
Okay. All right. This is Bran the Builder. I'm on Twitter and Amino mainly. I'm starting to get into a few more videos here and there, so you may see some actual content from me before long.
Great.
I do the writing with Amino. I'm with the Focalizer Network.
We love Justin Thomas here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm everywhere. I got my fingers in everything. So.
Mini pot.
Yep.
All right,
if I can. And the Citadel of Trivia.
I'm sorry, Bran. Okay, yeah, Citadel of Trivia, Focalizer, which y'all, if you have something, Justin Thomas is always open to work with anybody and publish anything that you have. Amino. Thank you, Bran. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Bran. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Bran.
Thank y'all.
You're welcome. Shelly?
Yeah, I go by Shelly. I'm still not teaching the Reiki yet, but I do have a website for some stupid shirts called stupidstoner.com. So yeah, go ahead and check it out. That's pretty much all I do is haunt all over everyone's stuff and watch Game of Thrones and everything else, and I'm a nerd. So thank you for watching.
Thank you everyone for having me on. I appreciate it. Check out my YouTube channel under Misha Houston. Check out my Facebook channel under Misha Houston. Check out my Instagram channel under Misha Houston. Tomorrow I'm going to finish up my analysis of the my Winds of Winter Elaine sample chapter. I'm going to put out the epilogue, which is my last video for my analysis. Thank you very much, and have a great night, everybody.
Thank you. And I'm Jennifer Wolverton on Facebook as well as Twitter. And I just love Game of Thrones, love talking about Game of Thrones. Please join us if you want to get on the panel or anything like that. Just instant message me. We'd be happy to have you. We're always looking for some new guests and old. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And I also want to say Marie wasn't here tonight, but thank you to those who were. BBM. Moni G, Marco Minko. Thank you so much for coming. Bran, Shelly, Misha. And I also want to say Marie's not here tonight, but she gave me this scarf for my birthday. And I proudly wore it today to my grandmother's funeral. Thank you so much. And I guess we'll see you guys next Thursday. We'll be talking about
Catelyn. Catelyn is the next chapter.
Catelyn's the next chapter. We're going chapter by chapter.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the books, or if you say you don't want to read the books till after the show, I'm telling you, up until Storm of Swords, which is the third book, it's probably one of the best adapted that sticks to the book that I've ever, read. Yeah. So just a minute. Okay. But yeah, next week we'll be on Catelyn. And if you don't have the books, which you can get very cheap on eBay or in your local library, if you don't have them, you can go on YouTube and they're narrated on there. Like, for instance, the Catelyn chapter is only, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 pages. So, all right. Well, we'll see everybody next week. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody stay on for a minute. Bran, if you have to go, that's cool.